Okay, good afternoon, my friends, and welcome to today's edition of NWCR's Removing Liberal Blindfold for this Monday, the 9th day of November in the year of our Lord 2020. The media don't decide elections. Votes are still being counted. According to the Associated Press, 4 states, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, are within 1%. No recounts have started. The challenges which will ultimately play out are being ignored. This has been astounding to watch. The legendary Republican says he and his wife Calista were at the White House on election night as returns were coming in. The president was ahead in most of the key battleground states, but then suddenly vote counting stopped. We couldn't figure out what was happening, Gingrich explained. And when we got up in the morning, we saw that hundreds of thousands of ballots suddenly appeared, almost all of them for Biden. Now, you can rationalize that development however you want, but at least it's suspicious and worthy of further investigation. Gingrich continued, "We need to be pushing for further investigation and not give up simply because the elites tell us to be quiet, and they will. The Democrats and the media are going to say that even though all the votes haven't been counted, President Trump owes it to the country to cave, accept defeat, and walk off. Some will also say that we don't need to do any recounts. There are a large number of what I call accommodationist Republicans who always believe it's either their job to side with the Democrats and the news media when things get too tough and when the elites really put the pressure on them, because after all, their main goal is to be liked and go to nice cocktail parties, not to do right by the country," unquote. These accommodationist Republicans will say they don't like the president talking about fraud, vote theft, or corruption, even though it is as plain as the nose on their faces. They don't want to look at the data and growing evidence that something is clearly amiss in places like Detroit, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh. And then there are people around Trump who understand that his presidential run in 2016 was a direct assault on a national establishment, which had betrayed the American people and no longer represents them. This elitist group only represents its own interests and sometimes the interests of foreign countries. I suspect that President Trump is going to keep fighting, as he should. We owe it to the American people to have an honest, straightforward election. Every legal vote should be counted. That's a tall order, but it's necessary for the sake of our republic, not to benefit President Trump or anyone else, but to ensure the legitimacy of our sacred democratic process. He goes on to say, "We at Gingrich 360 have been getting an amazing number of emails from different people telling us about specific instances of people who were intimidated, people who were told they couldn't be poll watchers, and people who saw fraud. That is why I'm urging all you Americans, the American people, to report instances of voter fraud to our website at www.gingrich360.com/honestelections/. The former House Speaker maintains the integrity of American elections is in jeopardy, and we need to ensure that our electoral process does not become delegitimized beyond repair." And that's coming, folks. Gingrich concluded, "Brace yourselves as the entire national establishment rushes to embrace Biden as president-elect. Some will do so because they want it to be true. Others simply don't want to pick a fight with a new potential president. Meanwhile, Trump supporters will be lectured to forget 5 years of vicious attacks by Democrats and the liberal media. We will be told to be nice and work together, while the likes of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat in New York, and others publicly say they want to purge Trump supporters." And now to remove the liberal blindfold here, folks. First off, like Newt Gingrich said, the media does not call the elections. The media has never, ever called elections, and yet that is what we have going on today. The media has called the election winner. And that is not the way it's supposed to be. And going against the media here, folks, the American people have spoken. But the whole story of what they said is still not all the way finished being told. The Democrats and the media don't want it to go any farther because they see the point gap getting closer and closer, and they don't want their basement dweller to lose. But folks, if we look at what has happened all summer long, isn't that what all the rallies and the things happening have showed us? When things got tough, Trump got going for the American people, and Biden hid away in his basement, taking a page out of the Obama and Hillary playbook. When things, they say, start working against them, hide away for a while, it will blow over. But we can't concede here, especially given the fact that Trump is within 1% of a whole bunch of states. So that line that the Hildebeest Clinton said to Biden a few weeks ago, no matter how bad it seems, never concede, this should be taken farther. Wait for the official words and then go from there. And folks, the official word has not been spoken yet. Only the media and the Democrats have called it, and that isn't the way it should have been done. I have talked of fraud and deception from the Democrat Party, and we have seen it all. And yet you liberals out there has been massive fraud, and it has gone on since the beginning of this fiasco that we have called the 2020 election. New rules have been implemented without pushing to make sure that they would be able to be done safely and correctly, without even weighing in on whether they should be implemented at all. And we have heard of ballot dumping and harvesting and ballots being thrown away. We have all heard of the impossible mass dropping of ballots that were only for Biden, statistically impossible. We all know the postal unions are heavily Democrat, and there is no fairness in that. What is needed is a partisan group that works with the electors to make sure the election is fair and balanced, as Fox used to say. If all of this had gone the other way, the Democrats would be beside themselves getting the news out about the cheating, and rightfully so. So why can't the Republicans do the same thing? In this election fraud, we have seen Fox Unnews move to the other side. So here is what we have coming, folks. If the left gets away with this scheme to steal the election, and mark my words, it's coming. If it turns out that Biden gets away with this hoax on the American people, free and fair elections in America will become a thing of the past. Now that is a true statement, and many have already uttered it. But once that happens, folks, no matter what the government will never let go of it. It is like Obamacare. Once the government made that monstrosity into law, even though it was illegal and went against the Constitution, we have paid hell getting rid of it. And parts of it are still there, letting us all know that once the government gets a hold of something, it is next to impossible to get things right again. The government's job is not in healthcare, never has been, and was never meant to be, but because of Obamacare, it is now there. So my friends, get this one. If the fraud of 2020 succeeds, we will never have a free and fair election ever again, because the die will have been set. And even if it doesn't work this time, folks, if something isn't done after this to make sure this doesn't happen again, we are going to go through this over and over and over again until, and you need to listen here, until this succeeds. And then America the Free is gone, never to exist again. The shining beacon on the hill will be gone forever. We have to remember, Joe Biden said a week or so ago in one true moment of lucidity, quote, "We put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics," unquote. That is another reason I always end my updates and my shows with what a friend of mine used to always say: we will not be ruled. Fighting for freedom and liberty is an ongoing thing, and if we don't start fighting for those freedoms and liberties soon, my friends, it will be all over without a new and bloody war to get those freedoms back. And America will become the next Venezuela, and third world will come to our shores. This is Robert the Infidel for today's NWCR's Removing the Liberal Blindfold, which is brought to you by Conservative Nation Media. where we fight to make sure America always wins. Have a blessed day. God bless you all.